Hey guys, it is MissSimReno. If you are returning to the channel, welcome back. And if you're brand new, I am very excited that you decided to join me here today for another speed build. And we are in Forgotten Hollow once again. I did mention in my build at the beginning of this week that I had another one coming. And this is again for the little collab that my friends Reese and Rach and myself are doing. We are rebuilding the entire world of Forgotten Hollow. And I'm fairly certain I volunteered for the most lots. I'm like pretty certain on that. I think I did. I think I have another one. However, it's not brand new. It's something that I did, I think 2 years ago now, which is wild. But it is like a haunted church and graveyard, which I thought would be perfect for our little save. So you can look forward to that once everything is put together. But yeah, we're building another Victorian home. And this one is, I feel very different from a lot of the kind of like spooky Victorian homes that I've built in Forgotten Hollow, of which there might be like 2. I can't even remember how many I've built here over the years, but this is probably one of my favorites. And I think it's because the outside looks really creepy and old and intimidating, you know, like you kind of don't want to approach the front door type thing. But inside it's actually super bright and happy, which was not my plan. Like that was not my plan at all, but it just kind of happened and I just went with it. And I really, really liked how it came out. So hopefully you guys enjoy it too. But you can see that we're using this brick from Discover University and trying to use some of the assets that came with that pack to match. But I end up changing the trim to one that we got with the Vampire game pack just because I think it fit a lot better. But we do keep the black shingled roof and this, I'd almost call it like an orangey brown brick from Discover University, which is why I used it because it's just like peak Halloween colors. I love it. But the family that lives here, now I don't know if they are vampires or any other kind of occult. I wasn't necessarily building for vampires, spellcasters, or werewolves or anything of the like. I was just building for a family. I think that was just very interested in all of the occults. And I don't mean the occult. I mean the occults in the game. I want to be very, very clear. I think that they are just really fascinated by all of the different occults. Maybe they've had run-ins with vampires and werewolves before. Maybe they have heard like rumors and legends of spellcasters and they're just fascinated. So they decided to buy this kind of decrepit, historic Victorian and Forgotten Hollow to, I don't know, kind of fly under the radar and observe these occults. I don't really know. It was the idea, but maybe they also dabble in the paranormal. So I do have a seance room, which I thought was kind of a great addition. I haven't used a lot of the paranormal stuff pack stuff this spooky season. Granted, I've only done one build, but still, I haven't used a lot of it. So I thought that would be kind of a nice addition. And of course, you could get rid of that and you could change it into a bedroom if you did want to have a bigger family here, because I was envisioning 2 parents and 1 child. But again, that seance room could become a nursery or like a teens room, whatever the heck you want it to be. But it was just kind of a change of pace because the house is a lot bigger than I thought. Like when I was putting this together, I actually thought it was going to be fairly small. And I thought that the floor plan was going to be a significant challenge because I have so many little bay window areas, so many little bump outs and things that I knew the floor plan was going to be wonky. And I just didn't think I was going to have enough space for too many bedrooms upstairs. And I was actually incorrect. I think there was space to maybe add an additional bedroom too if I wanted to, but I figured I'd balance things out with the number of bedrooms and the number of bathrooms for this build and leave it up to you all if you wanted to make any changes. But you can see that we're working on the landscaping. It's all very unkempt and I would say kind of spooky and creepy. I mean, it's nothing special, but it's also, we're building in fall, so things kind of don't have their leaves and buds on them and things, but I really liked it. And I also went into the debug menu and pulled out this dark stone fence from Cottage Living. I thought it was perfect for this build. And I really think that this build is essentially just Halloween colors, but nothing too vibrant, because the thought that I had originally was to actually use like the orange siding that we have with base game. And I was like, no, way too cheery, way too cartoony. Let's go a little bit darker and maybe a little bit more decrepit and unkempt. So I don't know, the entire house is basically like Halloween colors to me. You guys can of course disagree. You might see more browns than you do orange in that brick, but I thought it was perfect. I also used the tool mod to just size up some shrubs and trees, and now we are working on the interior. Again, thinking that the floor plan was going to be very difficult to work with, and it oddly wasn't. Though I do have 2, probably fairly big hallways on the first floor because of where I had to place the stairs and how I had to kind of divide things up. So maybe you would consider it wonky. I just kind of liked having these bigger, larger hallways though, to be honest, because I think that it allowed me to add some decorations that I wouldn't have added otherwise. It also gave me a lot of space to add fireplaces in like almost every single freaking room in this house, which I also really enjoyed. I really, really enjoyed adding so many fireplaces. It's something that I try to do in like cottages if I want them to look a little bit older, or maybe an old Victorian home like this. I also use the radiators that we got with the Vampire Game Pack, I believe, in every room, and I created a little custom pattern in the flooring with the floor from the Vampire Game Pack. If I say Vampire Game Pack one more time in this build, I give you the authority to give this video a downvote. I am that confident that I won't say it again. Please don't do that. It actually hurts me. Anyway, we are working first on the living space, or more so the sitting room, I would call it. I have been doing this a lot with kind of these older Victorians or vampire homes, or the thought that it's an occult that lives here, though that's not what I was thinking for this build. But I haven't been putting televisions just because it's such a modern amenity. So I call this kind of like a sitting room instead of a family room. But there is a fireplace in here, these couches that I have been using and loving from base game more than I ever thought I would. And this rug from base game, this is pretty much what set the tone, okay? Because with the last mansion I did, I went very dark. I mean, it was for Vlad. He's an evil vampire. So that was a very dark color scheme. It almost looked like aristocratic-y, which is not a word, but I'm going to make it a word. And for this one, I chose this swatch of the fireplace and then found that rug. And I just thought to myself, I have to use reds and pinks. I need to do it. I don't have a choice at this point. Like, that is what this build is going to be. And if I haven't mentioned it before, I despise red and pink. Like, red is just not a color I like. It's too abrasive for me personally. And I don't like a lot of pinks. I don't mind like a subtle, soft pink sometimes. And I've done interiors with pink, of course, for like kind of cutesy things. But I've never really put red and pink together. And you know what was probably on my mind when I did this, and I didn't even realize it until now? I just watched a video by my very dear friend, Aiden, i.e. Devin Bumpkin, recently. And he used reds and pinks in a build. And I quite literally was watching it and I audibly said, "You son of a, that's brilliant." Like, that's brilliant. Who says these don't go together? I think it was one of his apartment renovations for his brand new Let's Build the World series in San Myshuno. It was fantastic. I was shook it to my core. So when I was doing this, I was probably thinking to myself, it'll work. And I think it did. I actually think it did. I think the living room set a really good tone for the rest of the build as well, because I added tons of clutter and it just looked very, very lively to me, but also kind of mystic, which was the whole thought behind it. I was also thinking, even though, this is embarrassing now that I say this, even though I didn't put any musical instruments in this build whatsoever for any of the Sims, I was thinking that this family was very into music. So do with that what you will, because I completely spaced on adding a grand piano or a guitar or a violin or anything of the like, which is, again, super embarrassing right now because that was a thought and I completely spaced on it as I finished the rest of the house because it took me, I want to say about a week to do this house. I think it was about a week. Yeah, it was a week. I also put that armchair from the Paranormal Stuff Pack in the living space. I loved it so much because not only did the pinks and reds match, but the yellow gave it a little bit of pop of color, which I really enjoyed. I was a bit hesitant because I thought the yellow was a bit overpowering, but it ended up tying in nicely, I think, with a lot of the gold accents that I used throughout this build as well, and therefore I was thrilled with it when I looked back on it. But this is going to be the downstairs bathroom, which is a pretty decent size, and I think I end up getting rid of the shower tub combo, and I end up putting that dresser that's in the bay window right now. I think I put that where the shower tub combo is, and I just put a bathtub in this bathroom. And I don't know why. I think I was trying to think of just older Victorian homes again, and even though that shower would work perfectly, I just wanted to use like a really beautiful clawfoot tub and have it be a focal point for the bathroom. So that's what I ended up doing. Again, I put this dresser over here in this little area. I thought it was perfect for that. I added some artwork and some clutter and things like that. I think there's also a plant, and it was so fun to clutter up this build, just as it was the last mansion that I kind of did at the other Victorian home, because you can use so many different pieces. You can use, like I use these little messages in a bottle from the My Wedding Stories game pack. There's like wooden sculptures, there's palmistry things, there's candles, there's books, there's just so many random things that I think can fit in when you do an occult build. And you don't have to feel restricted to using a certain pack. Like I used tons of the werewolf game pack in this build as well. Same with the last one, because a lot of those clutter items I think fit in so perfectly. So the bathroom is pretty much coming together. Again, I just put a plant in this corner instead of these little organizers. They were too modern for me. Didn't like them in this bathroom. And then I just add a few clutter items as well on the counters near the one and only sink in this bathroom. And if I haven't mentioned it already, I just really enjoy how large this bathroom is. I think my bathrooms are typically 2x3s, which are, I mean, they work, they function obviously, but they're usually very small. And this just made me feel a lot more comfortable having some more open space to kind of move around in. It felt a little bit more realistic to me. I don't know why. I can't really articulate why, but I don't know. I just really enjoyed it. I made the bathrooms a little bit bigger in this house than I typically would. But we are also going to be working on these 2 hallways. Now they literally share a wall. That is how massive they kind of are. I also put a closet back here near the back door. And again, I did this on purpose this time though. Last time I forgot, but on purpose this time, is I didn't put any activities on the front porch or the back porch. I'm kind of leaving that up to you all, because if you do have vampires, for example, during the day, they're not going to be out and about. So there might not be too much of a point, but you also might want to put a few things there if you'd like. Just kind of leaving that one up to you all if you download this build. But in this hallway, right in the entryway, we do have a coat rack. We've got a little love seat and this lamp. I was hesitant using this lamp in here because the door is green. And I was like, oh no, this looks like Christmas. But I thought it was spooky enough, or at least eclectic enough, that it wouldn't look too spooky, hopefully. I didn't want it to look too Christmassy. I wanted it to look kind of spooky. I have just had my coffee and I am a little amped up right now. So this is what you get today. You get very, very amped up April, because that's just my state of being at the moment. But yeah, we do clutter up this console table. And then we end up putting these radiators, because I completely forgot about them. I put them in the bathroom, the living room, and the hallways. Hopefully I didn't miss any rooms. I don't think that I did. It's certainly possible, but I don't think that I did. I try to be very cognizant of putting those in every room if I put them in one room, because it only makes sense to me. But I used these sconces from base game as well, just because they looked a little bit orangey, reddish. I thought they matched okay. Like they matched enough. And then I moved on to the dining room and the kitchen, because I did actually struggle with that second large hallway, just kind of thinking, what the heck do I put in here? But this dining room, I love this dining room so much. I didn't think it was going to be big enough at first, but it was. I was able to use this beautiful table from base game. And originally I tried to use these base game chairs that would kind of match it, but the wood tones weren't matching. It was looking a little bit too dark for me. So I tried another chair from base game and then landed on these chairs from Discover University, which I feel like I don't use that pack enough when I'm building. And this build made me feel like I was really using it again. So I was really happy about that. There's also a love seat in that bay window. There's another console table. And of course, we do have another big fireplace, which I thought was so nice. I put one of these paintings from Get Together over the fireplace, something I did again in my last build. But I've been using the tool mod to actually make them look as though they're sitting on top of the mantle, not hanging on the wall above the mantle. Are you picking up what I'm putting down? I like putting them at a slight angle to make them look that way. I think it adds just enough character to something like that. It just brings me so much joy. I also added a few of these like plates on display. There's the little, I'm going to call it a recipe book from the pack that I said I wasn't going to name for the rest of the build. And there's of course a few more kind of trinkets from the werewolves pack. And I used the little tea set from Cottage Living on the dining table because the colors were literally perfect. It's pink and red. I thought it was absolutely perfect. I was so thrilled with this color scheme. You guys, I cannot explain like how happy I was. But this is pretty much the dining room. I just add a few clutter items to that console table. I add one of those chairs again in the corner just to kind of bring that color in a little bit more into the space. And I add some more paintings from Get Together on this wall as well. And I sized up this one from base game and put it on that wall. And used this lamp and added some crystals and flowers and things. I actually really love those flowers from, again, the My Wedding Stories game pack. I think they're really pretty. And it wasn't until my dear friend Rachel mentioned this in one of her builds, but the debug bouquets from My Wedding Stories are chef's kiss, by the way. That's not one of them. That's the one from the Build and Buy catalog. But let me tell you, they are. They are absolutely beautiful. If you haven't looked at those yet, I recommend you do so. And now we are working on the kitchen. So there is a little breakfast table in here. Something that I do very, very frequently is I'll add a breakfast table, usually with fewer chairs, but I felt as though, you know what, I have the space in this bay window. Why not just add the full 4 chairs for the small table and have there be some open space as well? Even if in the kitchen, for some reason, it made me feel uncomfortable. In the hallways in the bathroom, it made me feel great. But in the kitchen, I was like, oh, there's so much open space. Why? I don't know why I want my kitchens to be difficult to navigate, but here we are. For this build, I did use the cottage living fridge because I thought it was old enough but modern enough to fit into this build. And I also used the stove and oven from Realm of Magic. It's honestly so pretty. I feel as though I frequently can't use a lot of the swatches, but in this build, it was perfect. I thought it was just so detailed and intricate. It fits so nicely in this kitchen. And I do give them a coffee maker, so there are some modern amenities here. Let's just be honest. I did a coffee maker. I think that's it though. There's no dishwasher. There is of course a sink because you need that to wash your dishes at that point. But I think the coffee maker is as modern as it gets. So, I don't know. I try, you guys. I really do. But I thought the kitchen was really pretty. I added a few decorations on the walls. I added those pots and pans. And then I just added some of those cutting boards. And I think there's maybe some, I want to say like utensils or something that I add. I think I hang some herbs, but I think they're the kind of odd ones from Journey to Batu that I put there. Just because they looked a little bit more mystical to me than the other ones from Realm of Magic. And I just really enjoyed the kitchen. I really did like it. I thought it was spacious enough. Maybe uncomfortable, but spacious enough. And I was actually originally thinking of putting a toddler high chair kind of in that corner over here near the coffee maker. I was originally thinking of a toddler in this build, and I don't really know what happened to that thought. It just dissipated at one point. But that is pretty much it for the kitchen. I just add this broom and dustpan, and then I think later on I do add the radiator over on that wall as well. But at least there's enough space to kind of get back and forth from appliance to appliance and not feel, I don't know, for me in a kitchen, I think I would feel like I was just walking into everything. But now we are working on the second story. I did decorate that other hallway off camera. It just has a couple of, I want to say like china cabinets, the ones that came with cottage living, and there's a few bookcases as well from Realm of Magic. So it filled it really nicely. I didn't want it to make it feel like it would be difficult to kind of like walk down that hallway. So you'll see it in the screenshots, but we are working on all of the bedrooms and the seance room and things like that. We have, I want to say, one more bathroom upstairs. So I think this is only I think it's a 2-bed, 2-bath. Technically, it could be, like I mentioned, that 3-bed, 2-bath if you wanted it to be, if you want to get rid of that seance room. But the first room that we do work on is the primary bedroom. And I desperately wanted to use this bed from Realm of Magic, but I wasn't liking the wood swatches. So I did use this one from Base Game, which I thought actually worked perfectly. I used it in kind of a darker wood tone, but I thought that the comforter was kind of complementary to some of the lighter elements of this build. And this rug from Base Game, honestly, I can't stop using it. I use it more than I ever thought I would, but I did use it in this blue and brown swatch to kind of, I don't know, bring some dark colors to the bedroom, even though I did use this wardrobe from the Vampire game pack, and I think I ended up keeping it. Oh no, maybe I didn't. I chose this one from Base Game, and I think it's because the swatches were either too light or too dark for me, and that's pretty much why I swapped it out. But in the hallway as well upstairs, I didn't do it on camera. I put the desk from the Werewolves game pack, and I didn't give them a computer. Again, trying to limit the modern amenities. I didn't give them a computer, but I did use this chair from Discovery University, plopped it here in the bedroom, and added a few pieces of artwork yet again. And then cluttered up the dresser. I think in the other corner, I think I put a bookcase from Base Game as well. It's kind of it's a smaller one, but it looks very fancy. And I very much enjoy this bookcase. And I don't think I decorated the wall that much. I was going to put some artwork and I tried to kind of toy around with a few things, but it just looked really forced. So I ended up not doing it, and I kind of left it as is, thinking maybe I'll come back or I'll just leave it the way it is. And in this small hallway between the primary bedroom and the bathroom upstairs, I placed this fireplace again, which I thought was just, I've been using it so much now that it's spooky season. It's one of my favorite fireplaces in game. officially. That might change in maybe 2 weeks. I don't know. But like right now, it's one of my favorite ones. I, of course, can't use it in every build. It's not going to fit every single style, but it has been fitting my builds lately. And I have loved every second of it. But I'm also cluttering up the top of this mantle, added a few pictures above that. This 3-picture combination thing from, again, the pack that I shall not name. I'm trying to train myself not to repeat myself all the time. That's what I'm trying to do. But yeah, I added a little archway because originally I was thinking it might have been a separate room, but very quickly I realized it was a hallway. And then I do decorate the bathroom off camera as well, just because it's very identical to the one downstairs. And this is going to be the kids' room. And I was originally going to go with kind of like a green lightwood theme, but I decided to try to carry through the pinks and reds from the rest of the home compared to what I did in the primary bedroom. And I think it worked. I really, really liked how it came out. I used a lot of very traditional elements in this room, but tried to combine them and make it look very youthful. So with some other things that were a little less elegant. This bed from Discover University was perfect for this room. And I used a little ottoman from Cats and Dogs because the color was perfect. I also added some artwork. I think there is that creativity table. There might be a few like stuffed animals or toys. There's night lights and everything. So if you do have a child, they will at least be covered in regards to not having nightmares or having that monster appear underneath their bed. But I also wanted to make sure, specifically for this room, that it would be easy to get rid of a few things and replace them with other things for the transition from childhood to teenhood, if you will. That's something I might try to do a little bit more, because I could only imagine how much time it might take to actually dismantle some of the kids' rooms that I put together. I don't know. What do you guys think? Should I try to make them a little more transition friendly, or do you like the really themed, like cluttered, crazy kids' rooms that I end up doing? Let me know in the comments down below, because I'm kind of torn. Sometimes I think it's appropriate and sometimes I just want to go all out. So I'll kind of leave it up to you all. But here is the hallway where I mentioned I put the werewolf's desk and another little plant. I also just kind of carried these rugs through, and then this is going to be the seance room. There is no fireplace, I don't think. No, yes, there is. Yes, there is. There's a fireplace in here. And I did change the lighting to kind of like a reddish pink lighting, and you'll see it in the screenshots off camera. But I thought it was a really nice addition. And the reason why I did this, I got the idea from Rachel because she put a seance room in one of her builds recently, and I was freaking shook because I forgot about that until like she did it. Because she's amazing. Anyway, I will leave you all here. I will leave you with the screenshots. I hope you all enjoyed this build. I cannot wait to share the little save file for you all very soon. And I will catch you next time I post a video, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.